Hey everybody, it's Kedric Carr from Boss Financial. I'm here with Ben B, and Ben is a recent new addition to our Yield Wealth community. Ben has actually has six yield farms that are live, that are producing income for you. Congratulations on your early success with the program, man, and appreciate you spending some time and give us a chance to hear a little bit more about yourself and your experience so far with Yield Wealth.
Yeah, thanks, Kedric. Happy to do it. Thrilled so far with the course. So glad to be able to share with everybody.
Awesome. So quick question for you. Where did you tell me a little about your kind of investment history? Where did you get your investment information or education from? And were you satisfied with kind of how your approach previously? Fill me in a little bit on that background.
Sure. So I was about 25 years old. I first got into share trading. I come from a financial planning background and was familiar with the markets, but could see the opportunity to do more in it. So forked out some money and started share trading way back then. It's a quarter century ago. And from that base, I've really been in and out of share trading ever since. Overall, I'd say it's been a very mixed result. Net more losses than gains, but I think that's largely due to a lot of things, but a lot of it was just the sense of what's available truly in the program, how comprehensive is the teaching, and when you get stuck, what's there to actually carry you through to a legitimate understanding of how to work in different markets. That kind of continued on, probably half a dozen courses between share trading, options trading, even looked for a while there. I was messing around with futures, never just, Wild West. It was always under the guidance of somebody. And as I said, sort of net overall was not a wonderful outcome. So when crypto came along, my first venture into that actually was 2013. And I bought my first Bitcoin at $995 for one Bitcoin. And I got involved in that again through a trading program. It was all, bots in and out and rapid trades and incremental gains, etc. And that started out really well. Made some good money in that, but then the volatility got to a point where I just had to get honest with myself. It was causing me more stress than it was providing, a sense of satisfaction and positive outcome. And I got to a point where I realized the volatility was just more than I could stomach at that time. A combination of sort of the family finances, 3 young kids, and I just thought, look, I can't put this kind of money on the line. So I sidelined myself from that, and was just playing around in the traditional market from time to time. I think the real change in that came around in 2021. I was invited to be part of a beta test of a program that's since gone on to become very well known. I think a lot of people now involved in it. And it was, again, bot trading, but it offered a few facets and different ways to approach investing in the crypto market. I jumped in, and in the first 6 months had some really good outcomes with that. The idea of the program wasn't, though, that you would make these trades and then sort of bank all your wins. It was sort of be active in your management of the portfolio, but the idea was play a long-term game with this and use compounding to your advantage, etc., etc. So just coincidence, I closed out a number of my positions at a reasonable gain, and I don't mind giving some numbers at that point. at the end of 2021, I closed out for a net on 4,000 on the initial amount that I'd put in, which was good from a point of view of, okay, prove the system works. The downside, of course, was rolling into 2022. So I'd taken those gains, I'd reinvested them into other positions, and then, of course, we know what happened in the market, 2022, and so I was sitting on, the market had collapsed, so my position had basically evaporated. On to add insult to injury, I owed tax on the gains from the 2021 positions that I'd closed out of, and no way to, I couldn't liquidate any of the new positions to cover that tax liability. So I was dipping into money that was never intended for the investment side of things. All I was left with at the end is, thank God I didn't go in harder on those initial investments, because then it would have been a more problematic situation. But essentially where that left me was 2022 through mid 2022, just stuck in a rut for sort of 6 months. Might even been a little bit longer, toward the Q3 of 2022. Sitting in a very depressed situation, sideways market, and no real way from what I knew at the time and the program that I was in, no real way to get myself out of that. Not without putting a bunch more funds in anyway, and I didn't have the appetite for that at the time. So it was basically just stuck in a rut, just having to watch these these positions that were just a reminder of how bad things were. And it required sort of daily maintenance of it, which was a time suck, but knowing that I, for a long while, wasn't going to see any any positive change in there. So that was pretty debilitating, being stuck in that situation. I also then was starting to look for other ways to generate some income outside of the markets, so I could replenish a little bit of the losses that I'd sustained 2022. And that was best word for it is that was really depressing, because I paid whatever amount of money I paid for a number of programs and make money online, and you get in there, all these promises on the webinars up front about, this is life-changing, this great opportunity, we're going to do this, we're going to do that for you, and then you get inside the members area, and the instructions on how to do it, second rate, if they're there at all. Sometimes it was, basically a video saying, well, jump into this Facebook group and read, the 3,000 posts. And from that, you work out how to go on and do this thing that we sold you a promise on. So that was pretty, that was dragging my spirits down for a while. And it was about that time, actually, that I was on somebody's email list, and they sent through an email about Boss Financial, and that was where we are, I guess. Part of the story now.
Well, I mean, look, 2022 was a very, very, very painful year. So you're not alone in terms of how awful that was, and that unfortunately, kind of what you're mentioning in terms of the story of your tax obligation on losses, and the funds are no longer there. It's essentially phantom income type situation. Unfortunately, that's not uncommon. So I can appreciate kind of how depressing and painful that absolutely is. I guess the next question would be, what was it about Boss specifically that got your attention and caused you to kind of give this an additional shot? I mean, there's lots and lots of programs out there. You've already participated in others. What was it about Boss that sort of said, you know what, actually, I'm gonna give this a try. This actually looks like something that might be different.
Good question. It is. It really was. It was two things. The thing that jumped off the page at me when I first saw an introductory, video for Boss was the idea of yield farming as separated from trading. The idea that my funds, rather than investing in something that may go up, may go down, I've got to ride the roller coaster of it. If my funds are put somewhere, basically vested in such a way that it facilitates transactions in a market out there, and I get paid for that service. And from what sort of was offered at the start, it looked like what I'd get paid was actually a really good return on my money, equal to and with a lower risk proposition, in all likelihood likely to be higher than the return that I had seen historically from traditional trading in that sense. So it was a different business model, for want of a better word. How I'm using my money was actually for it was providing a service. So there's a business proposition in that, rather than sort of throwing money at something that may go up or may go down. And apart from a little bit of research, is akin to gambling, right? This felt more substantial. So that was the first thing that caught my eye and said, all right, well, this is different. Let me unpack this and dig a bit deeper and figure out, does this feel right for me going forward? The second thing, Ked, that made Boss Financial, something that I was willing to jump into, was the first webinar that you did. You shared your backstory, which tracked really closely to mine, but also the promises you made on that webinar about what we were going to get in this program. It made sense to me, but particularly the promises in terms of how you would support your clients. You were talking about how we're going to hold your hand through this. We're going to walk through what you need to do to get these yield farms in place, and if you get stuck, get in touch with support. That took a big leap of faith for me, because I'd heard versions of that and all these make money online courses, and as I said, you jump in there and you're so often disappointed with the support that you get. So I had to take that leap of faith, but I thought there was something about you that made me think I can trust you to be good to your word. And I'm happy to report after jumping in, it has all been that way. The instructions have been really comprehensive. There's been very few times where I was left with a question, not knowing what to do. I didn't feel like, I haven't at any time felt that I've had to go and reverse engineer something myself to figure out what the hell to do next. The answers have been there, and for I think twice that I haven't had those answers. And one of them was a technical piece that was totally outside of the realm of the program anyway. Your support has been fantastic. A quick email, and you guys have been super responsive and there for us. So that was what made me, the reasons I jumped in the first place, and part of the reasons that I have, stayed in terms of, kept doing the work over and over and over, because the support has been there.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, we know what's possible, and we really, really want you guys to be successful. And there's only so much we can do. Ultimately, it comes down to you guys and the fact that you guys are putting in the work and truly want this. So, we don't want to be the reason why you're not successful. That's for sure. And so I think, that's, and I appreciate the kind words on that for sure. And we're looking to try to improve that. We're trying to get even better on that stuff. So kind of next question. So once you joined the program, right? So once you joined, and Ben, obviously you're part of Yield Wealth, our coaching program. What was that been like, kind of building your first few farms with us and with our guidance? What's been the biggest sort of lessons or things you've gained from joining Yield Wealth?
There's been a number of things. Overall, I'm just thrilled with what's emerged since I've joined. I wasn't 100% clear, and I don't even remember actually what was promised around the airdrop side of things when I first joined. But all I can say is at this point, it's been a really nice bonus for me because my focus was on yield farming. So whether or not airdrop was sort of waived as a benefit to joining the program when I joined,
we don't talk about it publicly. We keep it
okay
for the members and once people enjoy. But yeah.
All right. Well, that makes sense then, because for me, it's just felt like a icing on top of the cake. I say that because the instructions have been really comprehensive around setting up yield farms. The first one, like anything, was the hardest.
Of course.
And so I really got, you lit a fire under me with that first farm challenge.
Yeah.
It's so fast and simple, and the instructions like do this, do this, do this, do this, and then next thing you know, I was like, what? 2 hours later, I think I had to wait a couple of days for the money to go through Coinbase and et cetera, et cetera. But once it was in there, it was like 2 hours later after watching every video. There's not even that many of them for that first farm challenge. But lo and behold, I'm like, it's there, it's done, it's live. And just like you said, it's starting to make money already. And I'm like, wow, it's that easy.
Yeah.
Now, of course, things do get a little more complicated going forward, but not a lot. And the complication's good because, barriers to entry, and also, we're creating real value out there. And I really appreciate how much research you and your team are doing in the background, to the point where I feel like so much of the risk is taken out of it. So when I go through and build each yield farm, and as you said, I'm up to 6 right now, and an email drops in saying, all right, you're ready for the next one. Here it is. Do this, 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 and this. Yeah. I know that you guys have vetted it. I know that you've looked at how do all the pieces interrelate, so that by the time you're telling me to do what the instructions say, I feel 100% confident in what I'm doing. And the results that it's going to get. And so far, it has been exactly that. I mean, each of the yield farms you've suggested is performing exactly as you said it would perform. I got a lot of value out of your guidance on your risk tolerance. How much of a percentage of your portfolio to put into this type of risk on versus risk off, et cetera, et cetera. And that's been super helpful as a guide, because I haven't been able to wonder in my own mind, should I maybe go out on a lash and try this other thing that's got a higher percentage, because you see them as you're going through the list.
Yeah.
But I remember your words to me in the initial one-on-one, which also was great, by the way. The fact that each new member gets to sit down with you one-on-one and you find out a bit about them. And, on that call, you'd said to me, look, here's my request. You'll get enough from us that you don't need to go off the reservation. And I, as soon as you said that, I'm like, okay, just that whole conversation in my head gets to disappear. And it's always been there in other programs, but now don't even have that conversation with yourself, Ben. Just Kedric's going to tell you step by step, it'll come down the line as and when it's meant to come down the line. And I've been able to just focus on implementation. That's been a huge win, because all the other distractions disappear. Then you don't get lost down rabbit holes of going looking for higher returns over here. Your risk profile stays intact throughout the portfolio. And instead, you can just focus on building. Implementation equals building equals results compounding on top of results. And that's been extremely valuable. So the yield farming side of things has been a huge win. And then you add on this, beautiful bonus around airdrops. And because the yield farming instructions are so comprehensive and sort of a building block approach, you go through it, you implement it, it's set and forget for the most part, other than the, you know, occasional review. But now I've got time available there that previously was being used to build yield farms. While I'm waiting for the next yield farm, I get to go down the airdrop adventure path, and that's been awesome too. Your instructions around that have been really helpful and comprehensive. So I've got a number of these, you know, airdrops that I'm in line to either have already qualified for or I'm in line to qualify for. And, you know, that's a whole other level of excitement that's giving me the adrenaline rush that trading used to do. But again, it's not like I've put, you know, thousands and tens of thousands of dollars into any of these trades. It's the investment is in the time you put in with a much smaller amount of money, doing the, you know, the activity on the blockchain, and that is you know, that's the qualification for that part. So the adrenaline rush is there without the financial exposure, the risk exposure. And meanwhile, in the background, my yield farms are just compounding and compounding. So that's a long answer to a short question, which is what did you get from Boss Financial? But there's a lot in there.
Yeah, no, I totally appreciate that. And it's, I mean, you bring up some really good points, which is, you know, there's, you know, you're talking around this, which is like, hey, there's ways for us to earn really, really high returns, a lot of money, without having to go out and invest our hard-earned money into going out and necessarily just buying a token and hoping that, you know, it goes up in value. And you know, this is what the insiders in crypto are doing. This is what this is how they're playing this, and you're not part of that. So I guess, Ben, the last question I'd have is, you know, if anybody's sort of on the fence about joining Yield Wealth, you know, and you know, maybe is unsure about it, you know, what would you tell them?
I mean, in a nutshell, do it. Because I've covered a lot of the reasons why up till now. You know, everything I've seen in terms of the promises that were made around this program, the delivery has backed up the promises, and it continues to do so. So it's not a, hey, we've got your money, you know, now you're on your own type of approach. It is, thanks for showing your trust in us, and now we will continue to validate that trust in terms of what we give you. So, you know, you're going to get value for money. I certainly feel like I've already got more value than the cost of investment, and it continues to go that way. You know, the regular calls, you do your regular strategy calls, and, you know, watching everybody else on the call there too, and the questions that come forward. And I really get that sense, you know, we're a community, and growing even more and more so a community, celebrating each other's wins, and, you know, just seeing others in the group, the successes they're having that they're able to share with the group, just is really validating that, hey, I've done the right thing. I'm in the right place with the right people. You know, and you continue to add value to those strategy calls and the Q&As. So yeah, it's a program that won't disappoint. It's a program that once you get involved, you won't be on your own. You will feel like there is somebody walking side by side through you as you evolve into this space. And it is a truly exciting space. I've been out there, you know, as I've shared with other programs, where essentially once you pay your money, you get a little bit of guidance, but then you're largely on your own. And this does not feel in any way like that. Instead, I feel like you join this program, you're going to be part of a relatively small family. And, you know, we've got Papa Ked leading the clan, who's, you know, watching out for us all. So yeah, I would say, you know, don't hesitate. Of course, do your due diligence just so that you feel good about it when you join. But, you know, there's no reason your experience can't be all that mine has been thus far. And that has been just a fabulous experience. So, you know, hope you jump in and join us, and yeah, get to walk this same path that's very satisfying and rewarding.
Ben, really appreciate you taking the time to talk today. I'm super excited to have you be part of our group, man. And again, thanks for taking some time to chat with us and share your story with us.
Happy to do so, Ked.
All right. Thank
Thanks for
you.
having me. Okay. Take care, everyone.